And here's the problem I saw. Hopefully this is going to show up on camera, but maybe you can see that little nick right there on this AAD upper control arm. Hey, what's up, Speedy's Garage gang? This week at Speedy's Garage, we're working on a Cub Cadet lawnmower. No, I'm kidding. Actually, I did just refurbish this thing. It's 16 years old. It's springtime, time to start cutting the grass. And as you can see, the top half of the mower in really good shape. The mower deck itself had pretty much rotted out. It had holes in it I could put my fist through. And the whole lawnmower, I think I bought it 16 years ago for about 1,500 bucks, and you can buy them brand new for about that now. The deck itself is $1,000 just for the deck, no blades, no spindles, no nothing. So hopefully I get a few more years out of it. A buddy of mine and I up the street welded some steel plates in it to patch it up, painted it. It looks pretty good. But if you got the hookup on a Cub Cadet LT 1045 mower deck that's 46 inch, leave me a comment below. I'm gonna need one. When I go over to the shop, we got a pretty simple little project to do on GoManGo today. And if you saw last video, you know we just got back from the first outing for 2021 to the drag strip. And it was at the drag strip that I noticed a little something that we're gonna try to correct today, super easy. So let's get after it. Obviously, we're gonna need a jack and some jack stands to get GoManGo off the ground. And I get a lot of people that ask me where I got the mats that I put underneath the jack stands to protect the floor. And they're literally just that rubber mat you might see at like a gym or something like that. I think I bought these in 4x5 sheets for like 40 bucks, and I just cut them up. I used some of it in the air compressor closet to cushion the air compressor itself, and what was left over, I cut, I think these are 12x14. And I use them underneath the jack stand so they don't mar up my floor. And now we're just going to jack the car up. And I get a lot of people that ask me if I actually use the differential to lift it, and I do. I've never had any trouble with doing that. I'm careful, and my jack does have a rubber pad on it. And I've got that diff brace from Performance Development that takes the brunt of the weight. So I don't really worry about it. It makes it easy. Now I make it a point to always say this, but never work on a car with it only supported by a jack. Jacks can fail, especially a $100 one like I have. Always put jack stands in as a safety net. Never work on a car with just a jack underneath it. Having said that, this project, hopefully I'm not going to jinx myself, should be so easy. It's going to take me longer to get the tires and wheels off than it is to actually do the work. And here's the problem I saw. Hopefully this is going to show up on camera, but maybe you can see that little nick right there on this AAD upper control arm. So I had read reports that if you're using shortened sway bar end links, which I am, and I'm using just the standard factory sway bar end link, you can see it there, that has been shortened. I'll measure it here in a second. But what it does is it pulls the sway bar down and allows you to mount a 17 or 18 inch tire at the drag strip, like my drag radials, while the car is suspended. So the suspension droops, and the normal sway bar end link would have the sway bar up here, and be up like higher, and the back side of the wheel would make contact, and you couldn't set it flush against the hub. So you put the shorter sway bar end links in, pulls the sway bar down, allows the wheel to clear, and now you can easily mount your drag setup at the track. The problem is with these new AAD control arms, they're bigger and more beefy, and I had heard in some rare cases they can make contact. Well, with the suspension drooped, you can see I got plenty of room. When the suspension is compressed, it's probably 1 millimeter between the two, or maybe 2 millimeters. And I drove around the street checking things, and I never saw any contact. But after my first day at the track, I double-checked leaving, and I saw both sides had one little notch where it had just barely made contact. So what I've done is ordered some different sway bar end links that I have read will solve that problem. I suspect they're going to be just a little bit longer or something. We're going to get to that in a second, but that's what we're trying to fix. Pretty easy fix. We're going to remove the 16 millimeter nut and it's a 15mm bolt. I've got trusty electric or cordless, so we want reverse ratchet here. Get that on there, and oops, hopefully it's easy. Presto Chango, got that done. And on the top, power tools won't fit, so gotta do it the old-fashioned way. It's not too bad. So here's my original shortened sway bar end link. And I don't even remember if I did a video on this or not, but you can see where it's been cut, and this is just a factory end link. It's been cut, shortened, and then just welded back together. And from center hole to center hole, it's right about 8 1/4. So that's going to be important for later in determining if our new ones are going to solve a problem. And what did I get for new ones? Well, I'm glad you asked. We got some B. Woody short end links, and they're much more beefy than the factory ones. And just at glance, first glance, they look like they're quite a bit longer too, but they will still allow the 17 or 18-inch wheels to fit. We're going to test that. But that's good news if they're a little bit longer, because that'll solve my problem for sure. Okay, so here is the B. Woody end link compared to the factory shortened one. You can see it's right about 1 inch longer almost. It's actually measuring from center hole to center hole about 9 1/8. Remember, these were 8 1/4, so almost a full inch longer, so that will definitely clear. You can see how much beefier they are. I don't know if that'll matter for my purposes or not, but if you road course the car or something, it certainly will. And you'll notice mine have spots for Zerk fittings for grease. I did opt for the greased version, so I'm going to put these Zerk fittings in them next and put just a little bit of non-washable grease in there. It's supposed to be good for the bushings. They're about $100 whichever way you go. It's a little bit more for the grease fitting version, but in my opinion, it was worth it. Grease fittings, they just thread in nice and easy. Put those in. And these things actually have a pretty nice kind of powder coat finish on them. I like that. And then I'm using a little stubby so I don't accidentally over tighten them. It's a little 5/16 stubby ratchet. That's how I'm going to tighten these grease fittings down. Just until they're flush. That looks good. Do the other one. Careful not to cross thread it. That ought to do it. Put a little grease on them, they're ready to go in the car. And B. Woody makes a couple of recommendations on grease, but the important thing is you want to use one that's called non-washable. It's usually a marine grade. I'm not going to name the brand I'm using. It's green. I use it on Project Sport Runner. I use it on the lawnmower. And have a paper towel ready, because it doesn't matter how careful you are, grease has a tendency to get everywhere. So I'm just going to give it about a squirt, using one of these, and a half. Call that good. I see just a little bit coming around the edge there. We'll do it on both ends, and I'm going to wipe it up to clean it up. All right, with the grease fittings and everything lubed up with a non-washable grease, now we're going to use their included anti-seize grease, and it says to put a little bit of this on the poly bushings before you install them. And that's going to help probably prevent squeaks. It's going to condition the bushing a little bit, just be all around good for it. So we're going to put that on there, smear it around, and then we're ready to put these back on the car. Putting the new end links back on is super easy. Just remember the short bolt goes at the top with the nut on the back. The long bolt goes on the bottom with the nut on the front. I made sure the Zerk fittings or the grease fittings were pointing to the back, so they'll be easy to get to. I'll probably grease them once or twice a year, just depending on how things look. If I start hearing weird sounds or anything like that, I might do it more often, but I suspect that's going to be good. Now you need to torque these bolts to 45 foot-pounds. Clearance is a little bit tight, especially up top, but what you can do is if you disconnect both sides, you can actually move the sway bar around and give yourself some clearance to get a torque wrench on that. See, you didn't believe me, did you? So there's what they look like. Everything's installed and torqued down. Fit like a glove. Now for the moment of truth, we're going to try to mount up our 17 by 10 drag wheels and make sure they don't make contact with the sway bar. All right, moment of truth. There we go. They clear by probably half an inch. So that's excellent news. Problem solved. Well, that's it. We got the car lowered back down, torqued the lug nuts to 110 foot-pounds like they should be. And I'm going to say, if you have 17-inch race wheels and you want an easier time to mount them at the track, and you have the AAD or all angles design drag pack suspension, I'm going to recommend that B Woody short end link. For what it costs, it's very well made, has a nice finish on it. I added the grease fittings to mine to make maintenance nice and easy. It's about an inch longer than the other one available on the market, and that's going to make sure I have plenty of clearance between that sway bar and that all angles design upper control arm, and I shouldn't have any more issues at all. We're going to the track next weekend. I'm going to find out for sure, but I bet that has solved my problem. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Be sure to check us out on Instagram. It's @Speedys_garage, as well as our website, www.speedysgarage.net, and hopefully I'll see you out there.